Yes, it's just an excuse basically to electrify the entire transport grid.
Yeah, I mean, suddenly...
Everything.
Yeah, suddenly that is going to be by far and away the cheapest. It's going to be the only choice for power, basically.
Yeah.
Everything else is just going to seem...
rubbish.
Ridiculous in comparison.
Yeah, I mean, the prices will obviously drop enormously once you have fusion going.
Yeah.
Because the amount of energy you can produce and the small amount of fuel that goes into producing fusion. And also, obviously, the environmental consequences of producing fusion energy are nothing. Basically nothing.
Yeah.
So, in terms of looking to fuel, electric cars, I mean, yes, if you fuel an electric car with electricity that's burned at a coal power station, you're still going to produce pollutants that do whatever to the Earth's climate and do whatever to people's health. Even though that's still a more efficient way than doing it if you burn fossil fuels in the cars through normal combustion engines.
Yes,
it
is.
You still release a net less amount of pollutants, basically.
Yeah.
But when you have fusion, there's none. You don't even care about those arguments anymore.
Yeah.
It's just the obvious thing is to electrify everything because suddenly it's the cleanest way and it's the cheapest way.
Yeah, so everything from cars to obviously to trains and buses and planes. I mean everything basically.
And that stuff's kind of going that direction without fusion.
It is, yeah.
Anyway, so it's just gonna.
That's just gonna be an acceleration. It's just a catalyst to get that happening even faster. Probably.
Yeah.
Transition the whole world into electric.
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So as I said, like it's very good. It's going to be great for the environment, great for people's health. In cities, I mean, once you electrify everything, there's no power stations, there's no transport producing fuel pollutants. I mean, a huge amount of pollutants damage people's health that you don't realise. Even in advanced Western countries, pollution's a real big health hazard.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I lived in LA for a while. I remember there'd be days where you'd be told not to go outside and stuff because of the smog count would be really high and stuff. I mean, it's sort of much worse in places like Beijing and stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, when I was living in Hong Kong, the pollution levels were generally, you didn't notice, you just whatever. Yeah. I remember one day a smog had come down from mainland China, and none of us knew about it. We went out, did whatever we were doing. I was in university there for a year, and went out to the university, came back, and I was like, my eyes were itchy, and I thought I had a cold or hay fever, like a hay fever type symptoms, and it was the wrong time of year, and I hadn't had hay fever whilst I was in Hong Kong. It was a bit odd. It happened for one day. Went back, and we were eating dinner, watching the news, and it was the pollution levels were like dangerously high, and apparently there'd been warnings all day and told people not to go out and stuff, and we had all just been out in the day of it, and I was like, oh, that's you kind of for the first time felt what a smog is like, but we didn't really know about it until we got back that and it was the air, it was different. It was very hazy, very much more hazy than it normally is in Hong Kong, and we just kind of ignored it. But that's a bad example. But I mean,
that's an extreme example.
Yeah, that's an extreme example.
It's all over you're right. I mean, big cities all over the world have problems with health problems caused by pollution to varying extents.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's going to be. Well, it very much depends on how quickly it gets rolled out across the world, which will again depend on the type of technology that it is. If it's something like this compact fusion reactor, it's possible that it could be rolled out fairly quickly.
But they said assembly lines. I mean, this is mass produced. Is what they're aiming for.
So it could be, on a large timescale, it could be the equivalent of someone turning a switch off with pollutants. Like suddenly they're no longer producing them. Over the course of maybe a decade or so, we go from current production to basgoing to nothing.
Yeah, it's all going to depend on how much it costs to set up a fusion reactor and the types of expertise that are going to be required to set them up. Well, it depends on those things, but it also depends on some more complex factors. So if, for example, Lockheed Martin develop fusion, they're an American company, okay?
Yeah.
Are they? I mean, there's multiple factors that could come into play. Who are they're going to have potentially? I mean, if they patent the design, it's the only way to do it for a long time. They're the only company selling it. It's almost like a monopoly on the technology.
Yeah, it's very lucrative.
Very lucrative. Having a tightly controlled technology that's that important could have knock-on effects. I mean, the American government may say you can't sell this type of technology to these countries because we have diplomatic problems with them or whatever.
Yeah.
So, it might not spread that way.
Yeah.
Lockheed might try and price people out. I don't know. I really don't know what their strategy would be for. I mean, they're a company, they want to make money. You presume they're just trying to sell it to everyone for as good a price as they can, so that it replaces all the other technologies.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the bet. In a way, a good way.
A good outcome.
I mean, you really want 2 companies or 3 companies or whatever competing with different fusion technologies in order to get the best, let the market dictate it. But if only one company has the technology for a long time to do it, it could be slightly problematic.
Yeah, it could, especially if it leads to other things. If having
a huge amount of
access,
power could be given to that one company.
Yeah, exactly. Or company/country.
Well, yeah. If I don't think the US government would do this because I think they would recognize that the benefit of the world having clean renewable technology is beneficial to them. Yeah. It's not a competition thing. It's hugely beneficial to them for everyone else to be in a much better place. If everyone's happy and they've got energy and they can afford food, etc., etc., you don't get wars.
There's no
People
arguing
don't bother.
With that. There's no wars. You don't have to.
Not that fusion reactors are going to stop wars, but
sure.
Well, they might. Anything that
Reduce
alleviates poverty, basically, is going to reduce conflicts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously, it's going to sort out or begin to help out sort out the global environmental problems that everyone is going to be interested in trying to. Everyone's going to be affected by, and everyone's interested in trying to sort out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think there's too much benefit in rolling it out generally. For the US or anyone who owns it themselves, the country. I mean, for not
unless it's developed by some kind of like despotic regime somewhere, then yes, you're probably right.
But it's very. I mean, it's very different to something like the ITER project, where it's developed by loads of different countries from all over the place, and they all kind of have a part in it, and they all kind of
come together to recognise this is a global effort to produce this for the world.
And they end up spending like 30 billion in the end on this thing.
Yeah.
And then Lockheed Martin do it in 2 or 3 years, from say 2010 to 12 years.
Yeah.
And it's much smaller, and they're the only company that have the patent for it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that company. If although again they're competing with governments. I mean, are the governments really going to listen to patent infringements and things like that? I mean, that sort of stuff doesn't go down in China. They just do not give a shit. It's like they in China they're literally copying cars like is it Toyotas and things, all sorts of other cars like British, American, all sorts of other cars that are
just ripping off the patents.
Straight up ripping them off, making almost identical cars.
Yeah.
The Chinese government just looks at these infringement lawsuits being sent out by these different Western companies,
just like
and
shrugs.
Agent just goes, "No, it doesn't look the same."
So it doesn't really work. A company versus a government in that sense doesn't really work.
No. So in a sense, then maybe it will actually be copied and spread around that way for anywhere that Lockheed doesn't want to sell.
And maybe there'd be laws made about it, or maybe a government would, if it sees that the benefit of this technology being widely used outweighs the kind of cost, the money that a company would bring in. If the benefits, global benefits, outweigh it, maybe the American government or a government like the American government would step in and say,
you can't restrict it.
You can't restrict it. Possibly.
It doesn't seem. Yeah. I don't know. That seems like an infringement on.
Instead of a company just kind of going rampant and monopolizing it.
Yeah. Because the world's energy supply could be controlled by one company.
Yeah.
Which is not really a good thing.
It's not. No.
Under not many. That's not really a circumstance you want. Not really a situation you want to be in.
No,
because they then
if they're controlling the distribution and the operation of all of these things, because it could be that all the maintenance we were talking about, all the modular sort of stuff, they keep really simple, but it's all proprietary, and you need to be paying.
It's simple to fix, but it's not. It's very difficult to produce the components that make it.
So you need to get it from Lockheed. I mean, having said all this, I mean they make it the Skunk Works, that division of Lockheed, they're very much on the website for this thing. It's very much like, this is a technology for the world. This is all the things. These are all the
but that's marketing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. These are all the applications we have of we see of it's all saving the world stuff.
Yeah,
which is great.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing is they'll milk the shit out of it. They'll be milking the PR out of that stuff for years and years and years. So trying to do something good with it is obviously a good thing. It's just that
they'll be looking to make money out of it, undoubtedly.
Oh, of course, no, that's fine. But it's the crossover between political influence that type of company might begin to have. With that's such an important technology. They could start saying, "Oh, we'll only give you this technology. We'll only sell you this government technology if you buy all your aircraft from us, all your whatever from us, all your whatever from us, and just monopolize."
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah. Maybe some kind of weird sort of geopolitical situation where you have a company like that becoming a world player in the same way that a big country is.
Well, yeah. I mean,
having a seat on the UN and stuff, like mental stuff like that,
yeah,
could lead to weird situations.
Very, very odd. So I would think, though, once if Lockheed did develop it and it is a successful project and it produces what they suggest it might be able to, I think there would be variations of it or ways to get around the patent or whatever that would end up producing things that are similar to it. That still you're able to produce fusion reactors. Competitors would start coming out of the woodwork because there is no one else is trying to develop something like Lockheed is at the moment.
Yeah, sure.
And all that billions that's been poured into ITER and all that would just be like, right, get rid of that. We don't need any of that anymore. Maybe unless they still thought it was promising and might do something to compete with Lockheed's design in a different way for a slightly different situation, like a big, large-scale power plant. That might still be the best way to do it with a tokamak or whatever.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it might be that the Lockheed approach isn't viable for some unforeseen reason, and that it falls through. Yeah,
of course. This is all hypothetical.
Yeah.
And of these fusion technologies, of course, are going to have a big impact on the energy industry around the world as well. I mean, fossil fuels are pretty much dead and buried at that point.
Yeah.
Once you've got fusion, there's almost no... Apart from the odd situation where fusion is slightly too high-tech or requires too much maintenance, etc., like we were talking about earlier. Say, going out into the jungle and you want to bring a gas generator or something like that, a petrol generator, then it's going to take over energy... in terms of producing electricity, in terms of powering transport, to take over everything basically.
Yeah, powering civilization generally, so all cities and transport within cities and between cities. Yeah, all of that stuff. Yeah, I mean there might be niche uses of fossil fuels still, but I mean the huge scale operations of mining fossil fuels out of the earth. Yeah, just won't be economically viable anymore.
We still have to produce plastics and things from them.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So
I wonder how it balances. Do you know anything about how much of the crude oil basically that comes out of the ground is used for plastic production in compared to fuel production?
I think that the profits almost all come from fuels. I'm not 100% sure.
That's intuitively what I would guess, but I have no idea.
Yeah, I did some bits of. I never really did that much on petroleum stuff in degrees or whatever, but the bits that I picked up on, I'm pretty sure it's mostly about fuel.
Yeah, mostly. But you are right. There will still be a market for plastic production, and there's obviously other uses of
oil.
Oil besides fuel.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Plastics.
But it would change the landscape of that
massively
hugely. And what about other renewables? The things that some people, things like Solar City, Elon's companies.
And he pushes towards wind,
all that sort of stuff.
Wave, all the kind of renewable energies you see now. I mean, again, it massively depends on
what fusion looks like.
What fusion looks like and
how it's controlled.
How it's controlled and how expensive it is to set up and all this stuff. But, I mean, in a kind of the ideal future in which fusion does everything that it sort of promises now that it can do, there's no real need for any of that stuff.
No, not at all.
Why would you ever need solar power or
You wouldn't.
Unless you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
And you just have a solar panel with you to charge your phone or something when you're camping.
Yeah, sure. Niche uses.
A spacecraft might use solar panels or something like that. But I mean, fusion will just replace everything. Presumably.
I mean, you don't.
It's the ultimate energy source.
Why use the secondhand energy from the sun when you can make one in a box?
Yeah. Control it and harness that energy directly. Yeah. Instead of having to capture it secondhand from
Yeah. So it's going to change a huge swathe of different industries around the world. The way that allow us to electrify pretty much everything.
And it could be the technology that gets used for bases on Mars or the Moon and stuff like that. Especially if we're permanently living there with lots of people.
Yeah.
The kind of SpaceX vision of thousands to even millions of people living on Mars. This could be like the first type of power source that you have on Mars. I mean, maybe not the first, but for powering a city on Mars, I mean, potentially this is like
in terms of if you can get one to Mars, talking about Mars already. Yeah. Then I mean, the fuel costs. The thing is, you can have so little fuel to power it for such a long period of time that it makes it the energy density is so high that makes it an attractive option for that sort of thing. The only problem, obviously, is maintenance again, or that type of thing. If you can repair it with materials that are in wherever you're going, then it's a hugely attractive option.
For a city on Mars, anyway, you're going to have to have in situ manufacturing of most things for a self-sustaining city. So that's going to be a problem with any technology you take.
Yeah.
And things like nuclear fission is going to be a nightmare for obvious reasons.
Oh yeah, no.
And then solar power is you just need a huge amount of solar panels, and things like dust storms on Mars will hinder that. So I mean it's a pretty sweet answer for Moon and Mars bases.
Yeah. I tell you what, if we get fusion power, I'm going to go mental. I'm not turning any lights off ever. I'm just leaving TVs on all day. Like nothing. There's no electric heaters on when it's summer just for no reason.
Yeah, man. If you get hot, then just open the fridge or something.
Have a heater and a fridge.
Yeah. So just balance them.
It would just be there'll be no rules.
Yeah.
Not that there is really rules, but.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like begrudging turning the light off when I go to sleep. Like I fucking wish I could leave this light on. Can't wait for fusion.
Yeah, but if I go out the room and leave the TV on, I won't care about that sort of thing anymore.
Yeah, there will be a shift. People will stop worrying about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you leave your light on in your room all day, and you come back in like, oh shit, I left the light on.
Yeah,
turn it off.
That's annoying.
When you've been to work or whatever, who cares? Just leave it on all the time.
Yeah, you won't even think about that. Yeah.
There'll be no dark skies because we'll just have lights on all the time, everywhere. Never turn the computers off. Never turn anything off.
Yeah.
Because who cares?
It's gonna massively. So if you imagine a scenario in which this thing works and gets rolled out across the world, it's gonna have massive repercussions everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about it earlier. What's it gonna do? Sort of the geopolitical implications of it in places now where there's lots of war and poverty and stuff. That's kind of hard to really predict long term.
Yeah.
There's many
I mean, a lot of those
they're
very complex. They're not really based on a lack of energy.
No, but that it potentially would remove or at least make the poverty situation better.
Yeah.
So it depends how much of the kind of bad situation that you find in some of these places is rooted in the poverty.
Yes, if it's related to energy poverty, I mean, food's a huge problem.
It's a huge problem.
But
maybe having
like greenhouses
is going to solve all that.
Yeah.
So you can grow everything in greenhouses suddenly.
Or whatever, yeah. And well, I'll tell you another thing: desalination.
Yeah.
Water.
That's a very good point.
That's obviously a big problem in lots of places. It's very expensive to do desalination processes, converting seawater to drinkable water, basically.
Yeah.
So that is going to be hugely reduced in cost. Hugely.
And just having it.
And that's a purely a process that happens with electricity. So
yeah. And it could just be the catalyst as well for development of other types of technology. Like maybe having access to unlimited power, or not unlimited power, but super cheap,
unlimited power,
really readily available power is going to be what spurs the development of AI or something like that. It just sort of accelerates technology development, because I mean, these things they're not directly energy limited in the sense
no, they're not, no.
But there might be a cascading effect, is what I'm trying to say, of once, you're kind of...
The cost of running those removing so much less.
Exactly. And it's going to have all these kind of weird, hard to predict sort of knock-on effects in other ways that might make sort of everything sort of accelerate a bit. I'm totally away from my hands.
It's possibly.
Like a trickle-down kind of effect.
Yeah. I mean, it's the biggest challenge that humanity faces is just trying to get a reliable source of clean energy. Fusion has the potential to solve that.
So does that mean if we sort out fusion properly, does that mean we're a type 2 civilization?
Does it? No, I don't think so.
So the type 2 civilization is using the energy equivalent of your star, right? Or is that type 1? I think it's type 2.
Type 1's all the energy on the planet. But we're not using all the energy on the planet.
No, we're not.
Using fusion.
We're just...
That's because the type thing doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. I mean, it doesn't really mean anything anyway.
No.
But
isn't it all the
I'm
energy?
Just thinking, like,
is it all the energy of your star?
Does it literally mean using all the energy of your star physically, or does it the fact that we are capable of
generating so much energy?
Generating essentially star energy.
No, I think it's using the equivalent
energy
output of a star, or the consuming the energy of a star.
Okay, so we're nowhere near that.
No.
I keep dreaming. I want to graduate to level 2.
Yeah,
we're not even at level 1.
No,
but,
disappointing. But it'll get us closer.
Yeah.